Hey yo, what is up, my good peoples? It's your boy, Big Chris, aka the Compton Animator, and I am here once again to give you another dumb as hell video. Now, on today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a movie review or doing a movie review for the 2021 movie Dune. Now, Dune is a movie that has been highly anticipated and one that a lot of people are just very eager to watch. It's been out for a couple weeks now, and I'm finally myself have gotten a chance to see it, and I am going to be hitting y'all with a nice little review. So the synopsis, or the at least the IMDb synopsis for Dune is, let's see, feature adaptation of Frank Herbert's science fictional novel about the son of a noble family entrusted with the protection of the most valuable asset and most vital elements in the galaxy. Now, this is a movie that, like I said, has been anticipated and very much loved and very sought after by everyone. I know that the novel itself, is loved by a lot of people. I know that I think it was a 1980 something movie, if I believe so itself, either the 80s or 90s movie, that a lot of people really either liked or hated. But there was always this idea that Dune couldn't be adapted to a movie correctly, and a lot of people really wanted it. And from what I heard early on, which I'm gonna talk about that in a minute, this is something that a lot of people are very interested. So yeah, as I always do, I separate my reviews into four parts. I start off with my overall expectations going in. I go into my positive feelings, my mixed feelings, and then I end it with an overall review score. Now, to start with my expectations, for a lot of people, Dune is something, like I said, they were very interested in. I know dick about Dune. I've never watched the movies. I've never read the comic books. I've barely seen any of the trailers that came out. I think I saw maybe part of the first trailer. I maybe watched the full first trailer, but I remember none of it. And just Dune wasn't a thing for me. I knew it was coming out and I knew I was going to go see it because I have family that wanted to see it, but it was never like, yo, I really cared about watching Dune that much. So, I was just more interested in the fact that, yo, this could be something new that I'm getting into, and I could really like this if it's really dope. So yeah, that was my whole thing with Dune. I was also interested to see how would the hype in the nerd culture aspect of everything, like how would how would people feel about it once they saw it? Like, once you all got into watching the movie and getting to see what it came out to be, what would it do for everybody? And that was one big thing for me. Like, I wanted to really see how people were going to perceive this movie, and how were they going to be in love with it? Was the book going to be exactly? I mean, was the movie going to be the exact adaptation that they wanted and stuff like that? And that really did interest me. So to start off, I would say that I saw this movie, and this is not a picture of me actually watching it, but I saw it at a drive-in, at this exact drive-in, I think on this damn exact screen, but this is not the theater screen that I saw it on. And when I watched the movie, I came out with really hard mixed feelings on it. Um, and I while watching it, I realized that I may not have been getting the full experience that I needed. And that was because the drive-in picture itself wasn't that great. It was kind of really, how can I explain this? It was really just weird in certain sense of the words. It was kind of muted in the colors, and the picture wasn't that great. Then you're looking through your car screen, I mean through your car window, so that affected it a little bit, and just it didn't give me the full experience that I thought I was going to get. So I decided the next day to go back and rewatch the whole movie again at my home, because it was on HBO Max, and which is a really dope thing, that you get these movies on HBO Max and are on these streaming services, that if see it in the theater, you pay for it in the theater, then you can come back and watch it at home to get that just the same experience from it again, or just get a chance to rewatch it. And to me, that is really dope. And I would have to say it changed my viewpoint slightly on the movie. It did. make it something better. And that's why I'm gonna start with my positives, because this movie is gorgeous. Like, there are scenes and shots in this movie that are really, really dope. I really love a lot of the visuals in this movie, as far as just a lot of the CG, the environment stuff, the sets, and all that stuff. I think they're really, really dope, and they do a lot of good with that stuff. I think the lighting here and there is really, really nice. I'm not in love with all the lighting in the movie and all the aspects of it, but there are moments where, like, you get some really, really good light scenes, like here where you see they're just in a room with just this ball lighting up this room for the most part, with a little bit of atmospheric stuff coming from the outside, or here where you have really just one big light source. And I really, really enjoyed a lot of that. There are some action scenes here where they do really good job with several parts of the lighting where, most of it's in dark, but it's coming from an attack on ships and stuff like that. I really, really enjoyed those aspects of the CG, and also the cinematography here. They had a really good ways of setting up scenes and just picking great camera angles and stuff like that in this movie. And they did a really nice job with that, especially with the use of the sets and the staging that they had. I really, really enjoyed that about this movie in a lot of ways, that they were doing those things. I would say the next thing about this movie that I was very entertained by was probably the ideas of the stories that they were using here. It actually kind of made me interested to read the book per se. I don't know if I am going to read it, but it did make me a little interested to read the book, because I like the story ideas here. I like the ideas of what they're throwing, the ideas of the politics that they're using, the ideas of the kind of different worlds that you may have here, are the different powers usage, and there's different aspect of characters and stuff like that. It kind of harkens back to a little bit of some other stories that I've read, like it's a little bit of Lord of the Rings here, a little bit of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and kind of the idea of the one and stuff like that, or a little bit of the Matrix, as well, as far as the idea of the one, and speaking of this all powerful kid or being and stuff like that. So that was a little interesting to me, and I like the ideas of the story a lot here. um the cast was very, very interesting. I liked I like the cast selection a lot. I think they had some really, really good actors here. For example, there was for me, I liked seeing who was it? The cast. Let's see. Oh, here we go. So I really like the choices of a lot of the people here. Oscar Isaac here was really, really interesting. I think he works very well as the kind of king character. He's very regal and stuff like that. I like Jason Momoa as this kind of badass, not really an outsider, but this warrior for the kingdom and stuff like that, who goes out and does all these crazy things. I like Stellan Skarsgård as the villain here. He had a lot of makeup on, and he looked really, really crazy. I think my favorite person in the cast was this dude right here. I'm gonna show you a picture of him, and his name is Stephen McKinley Henderson. When I say this dude was really, really good here, there's an issue with the movie. I'm gonna get into my mixed feelings, but with him, he had really great emotion to his character. Even though the acting was kind of a certain way, he was the one that kind of used it the best and really knew when to break it, when to keep the style of the acting going, when to do a lot of things. He really did a great job of showing emotions at time, and I really, really enjoyed his character. I would say next up to that for me was Jason Momoa, who Jason Momoa was really basically playing himself in this movie, but he kind of added the style of acting that the director was looking for here, and I really enjoyed his character. He was the only one that had kind of an okay fight scene for me, along with I would say there was one fight scene with Josh Brolin in the main character, who I thought was pretty interesting. But he was pretty interesting for me, and Jason Momoa, and I really dug him in this movie. And next was Stellan Skarsgård as the main villain here. I really enjoyed him too. He was really nasty and grotesque and really weird and stuff like that, and just he was always interesting to see on screen and stuff like that. I was really interested the whole time watching him portray this character, and every time he popped up, I was like, okay, that's dope. I want to see more with him and what he's going to do next. He kind of reminded me a little bit of like the Penguin mixed with the Blob and just all type of different things. He was very, very interesting to me. Um, let's see what else. And just for me, I think the main thing that I came away with this movie feeling was, after doing the rewatch, the visuals are the thing that hold this movie up the most to me. I think everything with the visual, the choices of actors and stuff like that, they're the things that hold this up for me, especially when I did the rewatch. I would say the visuals for about an hour in, it was just keeping me going on the rewatch, even though I'd already seen the movie again. It was just because it was kind of feeling brand new to me, and I was like, "Oh, this looks way different. Okay, I want to see the next scene. Okay, wow, that okay, that's dope. I want to see the next scene." And that's where my mixed feelings come in because after about an hour, after about 40 minutes, a lot of those visuals just don't keep up. They're beautiful, they're really nice looking, but man, is this whole story, is this whole movie just as boring, as monotone, and just as uninteresting at moments as can be. Um, there are just moments in this movie where there's kind of nothing happening, but there's something supposedly happening, but like the dialogue isn't really that interesting. The way the characters are acting are just really, really stale to me. And there is no like real emotions. And if there are, they're like extreme emotions, like a character will be crying out of nowhere or something like that. Like she'll go from just monotone one moment to crying the next. And while it was interesting in the acting style for a little bit, it was so just monotone. It kind of the director of this movie, matter of fact, let me go to that. Yeah. The director of this movie is let me see his name. Uh Dennis Villeneuve, I think that's how you say it. And he's the guy who did Blade Runner 2049, I think the name of the movie is. Am I right on that? Let's see. Yep, Blade Runner 2049. So that was a movie that when after I watched this movie and found out who directed it, I went, okay, I fully understand why I'm feeling this way. I thought the same exact thing about Blade Runner 2049. I thought visually it was stunning. It had a really nice little things in the visual, a really good cast, but just as boring as could be. And I think that's a lot with this movie. I think with going back to this one, like I said, the acting was stale. The storytelling and the pacing was super slow. Like there was just not much to the storytelling there. Like it felt like a lot of it needed to be more condensed. It was so slow that it became uninteresting. There were times when characters would be having conversations and it would be mostly exposition that they were doing. Like the dialogue itself is just mostly exposition and just kind of them trying to give a bunch of story beats from the book that is like are just not even story beats, but just things that you need to know from the book in order to understand these characters that was interesting somewhat, but not in the delivery. It was so dry. Like the way characters talked to each other was just insanely dry in this movie, and it really didn't lead any interesting things to me. The villain was probably the one who Batista was really over the top with his stuff, but he was also dry over the top as well, which was really weird. Stellan Skarsgård was creepy, but he was kind of dry as well with his delivery. As said, the main villain of this movie. What else was there? Oh yeah. So this movie basically felt like set up for another movie. You can tell that most of this movie was basically okay, we need to get this story out there to set up what we're going to talk about in the next movie and what we're going to do in this next movie. And it felt less like a Matrix where you have a complete story to tell with this one character and everything that was going on, but more like, yo, we have to get all our ducks in a row so we can do everything we really want to do in this next movie. And that kind of goes to with the main character here. The main character, I'm not going to say his real name, but his name in the movie is Paul Atreides. Um, he is such a nothing character. He doesn't really have anything real to himself. I can't tell you like who he is as a person. At times he's a little bit jovial with when he meets somebody who hasn't seen in a while, but that only lasts for a second and automatically goes into a lot of exposition. And then at other times, he's just standing there kind of unknowing of what he wants or what he needs to do at that moment. It always seems to be that people are putting their emotions on him or telling him what he should feel, what he should do, and what he should think, and he takes it in somewhat. But it's always the setup to him being the quote unquote one. And wow, the idea of somebody leading to their potential or finding their potential is interesting. You need to have something with that character, and there just really wasn't anything like that. If you think of like a character like Neo for the Matrix, um, Neo has a lot to his character and his kind of just this awe of the real world and this whole thing of not understanding who he is and what he wants to be. Does he actually want to be in this side of the matrix, or does he, what he wants? And that was a really conflicting thing with Neo and really enjoyable to watch. Someone like Aang from Avatar, of him being kind of the one in the sense of the words. Um, he is this boy who isn't ready for the role that is being portrayed on him, and he's being thrust into this, and he makes a mistake that causes his whole village and his whole society to die off. And that's a really interesting thing for him to come back to and actually try to figure out his life without them and try to become this person that he knows he's supposed to be in the Avatar. And this movie, at least for this first movie, just doesn't do that. It doesn't have anything really interesting or all that much with the characters. Like I said, the dialogue for the most part is mostly exposition, so you're not really getting any emotions out of the characters, and they're not giving any real genuine dialogue where they're actually having real conversations with each other. Like, it's just not there. Um, Also, there were several actors who I felt was just wasted along that lines. Even while I liked Oscar Isaac in this movie and thought he did a good job portraying the character that they wanted him to play, I would say the same thing for Josh Brolin. They were more there for exposition as well, to kind of give the main character a bunch of story that he needed to know to continue going on. But there was nothing really there for them themselves that let me know, okay, who is this person? How is he reacting to these certain moments and stuff like that? I never really got that. I think that Dave Bautista as well, he just came on the screen and just screamed a bunch of times, and I didn't really get too much out of him. Like, I would love to have seen a big fight with him and Jason Momoa. I think they two would have been very interesting in having dialogue back and forth and having a really good action scene back and forth. And then lastly, Zendaya felt totally useless here. She comes in at the end and has really nothing for her. I won't say what she does or how her character is, but she's not going to show up to the end of the movie, and they really do nothing with her as well. So she's like sprinkled in as like flashback stuff throughout the movie, but they really do nothing with her, and I just got really nothing from her character, and she just felt wasted to me. Um, and then the last thing about this movie that was so disappointing was the action in this movie. Like, there was one big action scene that was kind of supposed to be this, big invasion of their camp and stuff like that. It just came off as super dull. It was dark, and I like that, the only real blast of light was the explosions from the attack, but they did nothing very interesting or creative with that. There was like this thing, like these little bombs that spin and blew up ships, but that's about it. The actual fighting here was interesting in the fact that every character had these little, or at least every one of the good guy characters had these shields that protected you from actually getting hit, but they could be broken, and they had an interesting effect to them. But there was nothing with the choreography that was like, okay, this is really dope. I like this. Or nothing with the choreography that really stood out for me. You think of a movie like John Wick where the choreography is really crazy, and they're doing all these things with the camera, or they'll just let the camera sit there and you're really watching these two guys have this insane fight and stuff like that. There was nothing really with that. Or something like Book of Eli. This movie made me think of that, of a character like Book of Eli, where you have this guy who has a mission and is doing something, and it's a lot about the way he fights and how he fights and stuff like that. And this is with a guy like Denzel Washington, who isn't a martial artist. So, you can do a lot of those things with that. And I just did not get a lot of that from this movie. For me, and I may be drawing it on here a little bit, but for me, this movie just was one that I started. So when I first watched it, I was like, okay, what am I going to get out of this? And can I get a movie that is going to really entertain me and that gives me something that, like, yo, I want more of this world, and I want to see a lot more of what's going on here. Can I get that? Visually, yes. The visuals alone made me feel that way. Movie wise, story wise, and a lot of that stuff, no. I wasn't a fan of the acting. I wasn't a fan of a lot of the directions for the actors. I love his directions for the visuals and the sets and the camera tricks and the camera movements and the setup and stuff like that. But as far as a lot of the storytelling goes, I had a hard time staying awake in this one. It was so boring. Um, and I think there's a good story here, but as a movie itself, I don't think I would ever watch it again. Like, maybe no, I wouldn't watch it again. I'll probably go see the next one, but as far as the score, man, I was really flip flopping on how I wanted to score this movie. It was somewhere between a 2.5 stars to a three, and because of my rating system, I gave myself some leeway to land in aware of a 2.75. So it's not fully a three, and it's not fully 2.5. I think I'm like closer to maybe either one at moments. Like when I start thinking of visuals, it makes me closer to three. When I start thinking of the storytelling and the acting, it gets me closer to a 2.5. So yeah, I'm at a 2.75. Yeah, this movie is one that I really wanted to like, and I just came out enthused by the visuals, but bored as hell by everything else, and it's kind of made me sad to say that a little bit. So yeah, um, I'm very interested to see what they do next, and that is it for my review, man. Thank you for watching my reviews again, man. I hopefully if you get something on this review, and if you love the movie, please tell me if you love the movie. If you have a different opinion, please tell me your different opinion. I would love to see it, and maybe it'll get me to recheck out some of the stuff, or read the book at least, to see if that'll help my enjoyment of the movie. But thank you for watching. I got my links down below to my social medias. Comment, like, subscribe. Like I said, comment what you feel about this movie. Comment what you thought about my review. Share this video if you want to. I would love to see what other people thought about it. And like I said, have a great day, night, whatever. Word up. Peace.